Thanks for staying with NDTV. You're watching The World Report with me, Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. Let's take a look at what's making headlines around the globe. India counters Pakistan's latest water scare threat. That's right, Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma has countered Pakistan's latest water-related scare narrative. Now, Sharma has termed it a baseless attempt to stir fear over a hypothetical scenario involving the Brahmaputra River. In fact, in a strongly worded post on social media platform X, Sharma responded to the claim, what if China stops the Brahmaputra water to India? By laying out a fact-based rebuttal, it goes something like, let's dismantle this myth, not with fear, but with facts and national clarity, Sharma wrote, pointing out, in fact, that the Brahmaputra, viewers, is a river that grows in India, not one that, in fact, shrinks due to upstream control. Now, according to the Assam Chief Minister, China contributes only 30 to 35% of the river's total flow, primarily from glacial melt and limited rainfall over the Tibetan plateau. In fact, now the remaining 65 to 70% of the river's volume is generated within India through monsoon rains and inflows from its numerous tributaries in the northeast. US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has said he's very optimistic about prospects for a trade deal between Washington and New Delhi, adding he thinks trade negotiators have found a place that really works for both the countries. You should expect a deal between the United States and India in the not-so-distant future, Lutnick said at the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum's Leadership Summit in Washington. In fact, Lutnick also invited Indian businesses to make investment in America. These comments come as a delegation, in fact, from America is currently in New Delhi to discuss issues related to the trade deal between the two nations. Listen in.
Earlier countries get a better deal. That's the way it is. So those who come in, July 4th to July 9th, there's just going to be a pile. Right? But those who are earlier, and I think India is trying hard to be one of the earlier countries, which I appreciate. But these kind of deals used to take 2 or 3 years, and we're trying to get them done in a month, which is, just not the ordinary DNA of trading relationships between countries. I think to be in a very, very good place, and you should expect a deal between the United States and India in the not too distant future, because I think we found a place that really works for both countries.
Well, that was Howard Lutnick for you. Meanwhile, my colleague Alistair D'Souza caught up with former Cisco boss John Chambers. And viewers, here's why Chambers is in fact positive on the possibility of a swift and mutually beneficial trade deal as well.
In 2024 in February, when you did an interview with NDTV Profit, you were asked about what could potentially put a strain on US-India relations and its strategic partnership. Your response was, if we become selfish and look internally, that will be a problem. Isn't the US now looking internally and we have a problem now?
Well, I love the question, and having done this for 35 years, I'm going to reframe your question to the one that I want to answer. And the answer is every country must do what's fair for itself. And the US in many ways have been in a very unfair trading positions with many of the players around the world for quite a while. And to focus on how do you create a win for yourself and a win for the other country is the right way to go. And basically, we often look what is right for me first and what's right for my partner second. I think on the US-India relationship, we framed this since Prime Minister Modi came into power. The first meeting I had with him, we talked about what could this relationship really mean. And so I think there will be times when we might have disagreements, or some people might say we're looking a little bit more internal than we should be. I think you have to understand what motivates the other side, and usually there's very good logic behind it. And don't let these bumps get in the way of the bigger picture. Are we going to navigate through this? Absolutely yes. And contrary to what everybody is talking about, I believe India will be the first, or one of the very first substantive agreements, interim and then longer term trade agreement. Both countries would do very well in this relationship.
Shifting focus to our neighborhood now, where an official Pakistani dossier has in fact revealed that India struck more targets during Operation Sindoor than our forces originally acknowledged. Now, this dossier on Pakistan's Operation Bunyan-un-Marsoos highlights India struck at least 8 more targets than its forces referred to. And of course, viewers, there's more. The maps in the dossier show strikes on Peshawar, Jhang, Hyderabad in Sindh, Punjab's Gujarat, Gujranwala, Bhavalnagar, Attock and even Chor. Now, these locations were not named by the Indian Air Force or the DGMO in the press briefings after the airstrikes last month. Not only does this establish without a doubt that India struck far deeper behind enemy lines than it had initially anticipated, not only this, viewers, it also flies in the face of Islamabad's tall claims of inflicting heavy damage on the Indian side. Meanwhile, here's my colleague Shivarur with more on this.
At least 7 new targets revealed or claimed by Pakistan in an official dossier that was published on the 18th of May, a few weeks ago, are all target locations that Pakistan claims were hit by Indian drones that have not been acknowledged by the Indian side. Whether it is Jhang, Bhavalnagar, Peshawar, Hyderabad, Gujarat, Attock and other places, this suggests that the scale, if correct, was much larger than has been claimed or acknowledged by the Indian side, and that Operation Sindoor was far bigger, far deeper. The scale of it was much larger than initially believed. Now, we of course already know that not all information has been revealed so far. Things have been coming out in layers from armed forces briefings, but it's very interesting to note that in a series of maps published in this official dossier by Pakistan's ISPR on the 18th of May, trying to detail what has happened as far as Operation Sindoor is concerned. They've called it their own Operation Bunyan-un-Marsoos. They've claimed that these 7 to 8 fresh targets, in addition to what India has claimed, have also been attacked. Now, the disclaimer, of course, has to be that Pakistan always indulges in a great deal of propaganda, but there is no reason to believe that the scale and depth of these Indian attacks using drones and missiles hasn't hit any of these places so far. So whether it is Peshawar, Hyderabad, Gujranwala has of course already been acknowledged, but Gujarat, Hyderabad, Jamb, Attock and other places are all new, and they add a great deal of depth and complexity to what we know so far about how big Operation Sindoor really was.
Over to India's financial capitals, where the Mumbai civic body has scrapped a key tender to buy beach safety equipment from a Turkish company. Now, this comes as the government continues to ramp up heat on Turkey for siding with Pakistan during Operation Sindoor, viewers. Now, the tender was floated last September for perspective to buy 6 robotic water rescue vehicles to assist lifeguards at various beaches in the coastal city. Now, these include the Girgam Chowpatty, Dadar, Shivaji Park, Juhu, Versova, Aksa and Gorai. The vendor who had won the tender, in fact, to bid would have sourced the devices from Marin Robotics. It's a Turkish company, viewers. However, the Birung Mumbai Municipal Corporation cancelled the deal in view of Turkey's support to rogue state Pakistan. The White House press secretary has said that President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping will likely speak this week. That's correct. The announcement comes days after Trump accused China of, in fact, violating an agreement to roll back tariffs and trade restrictions. White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt is the third top Trump aide to, in fact, forecast an imminent call between the two leaders to iron out differences on the last month's tariff agreement in Geneva, among larger trade issues. It still remains unclear when exactly the two leaders will speak. Meanwhile, here's more.
Sure. She asked about the potential call with President Xi. I can confirm that the two leaders will likely talk this week. And as always, when there are foreign leader calls, we will provide a readout of those calls. So we'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Over in Istanbul, Russian and Ukrainian representatives met for a second round of direct talks in Istanbul on Monday, but with little progress towards ending the war. Now, as the talks unfolded a day after a string of stunning long-range attacks by both sides, while Ukraine launched a devastating assault on Russian air bases 4,000 kilometers behind enemy lines, Russia hurled its largest drone attack of the war against Ukraine. Now, the only concrete outcome of Monday's talks was an agreement, in fact, to exchange all gravely ill and wounded prisoners of war, as well as those under the age of 25. Speaking with reporters later, Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky said 1,000 prisoners would be returned by each side. Both sides, meanwhile, have also announced a mutual agreement to exchange the bodies of 6,000 fallen soldiers each. Listen in to what Zelensky said after these talks.
If Russia turns the Istanbul meeting into an empty talk, there must be a new level of pressure, new sanctions, and not just from Europe. We need to work on joint sanctions at the G7 level, including with the United States and with everyone in the world who wants peace.
Over in the UK, Prime Minister Starmer has announced an overhaul of the country's defence spending on Monday. He has warned that the UK faces quote-unquote war in Europe. The UK's defence plans include building 12 new nuclear-powered attack submarines. It's a boost to the manufacturing of drones, missiles and munitions, as well as bolstering of cyber warfare capabilities. The military spending boost is designed to send a message to both Moscow and President Trump over in Washington. Now, Starmer has said Britain cannot ignore the threat that Russia poses. This as he pledged to undertake the most sweeping changes to Britain's defences since, in fact, the collapse of the Soviet Union more than 3 decades ago. Listen into what Starmer said.
First, we are moving to warfighting readiness as the central purpose of our armed forces. When we are being directly threatened by states with advanced military forces, the most effective way to deter them is to be ready. And frankly, to show them that we're ready, to deliver peace through strength.
Russia's Deputy Chief of Mission in India, Roman Babushki, has said that Moscow is committed to delivering the remaining units of the S-400 air defense system to India by 2025-26. He highlighted that the system performed very efficiently during the recent India-Pakistan tensions. Babushki also hinted at expanding bilateral cooperation with India in air defense and anti-drone systems as well. Now, Mr. Babushkin, who also provided an update on a possible visit by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to New Delhi. To quote him, he says, "The exact dates are not yet finalized, but it can happen anytime soon. We expect this month." South Korean polls are underway to vote for a new president to replace ousted leader Yoon Suk-yeol. Now, the snap presidential elections in South Korea come after Yoon Suk-yeol's brief and failed martial law bid last December, which ultimately led to his impeachment from office. Meanwhile, both Liberal frontrunner Lee Jae-myung and his conservative rival Kim Moon-soo have pledged change for the country, saying political system and an economic model set up during its rise as a budding democracy and industrial power are no longer fit for purpose. Trump's administration has filed an emergency request asking the U.S. Supreme Court to let it move forward with wide-ranging layoffs and agency closures as well. Now, the request comes as a lower court has put the brakes on the administration's efforts to reduce federal jobs. The administration, meanwhile, argues that the president does not require congressional approval to make staffing decisions. It's called the judge's reasoning indefensible and also claimed the ruling prevents the government from implementing urgent cost-cutting reforms. The Colorado attack suspect has been charged with federal hate crime and multiple other felonies after he allegedly used a makeshift flamethrower and incendiary devices to attack a crowd of people who were raising awareness for Israeli hostages in Gaza, injuring 12 victims. Now, Mohammad Sabri Solomon, 45, is alleged to have shouted "Free Palestine" as he attacked the crowd on Sunday. The FBI said Solomon took police. He planned the attack for a year and had specifically targeted what he described as a Zionist group. Meanwhile, it's time we slip into a short break. I'll see you on the other side. And welcome back. You're watching The World Report on NDTV. Now on to the world of business, where Microsoft has cut hundreds more jobs just weeks after its largest layoffs in years, underscoring the tech industry's efforts, in fact, to trim costs, even as it plows billions of dollars into artificial intelligence. More than 300 employees were told their positions had been eliminated on Monday. A Microsoft spokesperson said the latest headcount reduction is in addition to the 6,000 job cuts announced just last month. Elon Musk Tesla is not interested in manufacturing cars in India, but is keen to have showrooms to sell its vehicles. Heavy Industry Minister H.D. Kumaraswamy said on Monday. Officials said the EV giant's plans is focused on importing cars to the country amid indications that Tesla is eyeing concessions under the India-US bilateral trade agreement to sell cheaper cars in India without any commitment to manufacture in India. Staying with Elon Musk, where his artificial intelligence venture XAI has reportedly initiated a $300 million share sale, setting the company's value at $113 billion. Now, the move comes as Musk refocuses on his business empire and the ongoing competition to advance artificial intelligence. The share sales will enable XAI employees to offer their shares to new investors. To improve connectivity between India and Iceland, Air India and Iceland Air have signed a new code-share agreement, viewers. Now, this agreement will allow passengers to travel more easily across 15 routes in India and Europe. Air India customers, in fact, can now book flights to Iceland's capital, Reykjavik, using Iceland Air services via major European hubs. Now, these hubs include London's Heathrow, London, Gatwick, Frankfurt, Paris, Amsterdam, Copenhagen, Milan, and even Zurich. Now, these flights will carry Air India's AI flight code. In return, Iceland Air customers will gain access to Air Indian-operated flights to Indian cities. Now, these include connections from Delhi to Amsterdam, Paris, Copenhagen, Frankfurt, and London's Heathrow, as well as from Mumbai to Frankfurt and London Heathrow. These flights will display Iceland Air's FI flight code. And the sports verse, after weeks of breathtaking catches, towering sixes, nail-biting finishes, and of course, incredible performances, we've arrived at the pinnacle, the precipice of the Indian Premier League 2025, viewers. Two titans, Royal Challengers Bengaluru and Punjab Super Kings, stand on the brink of history, ready to battle it out for the IPL trophy. The atmosphere is electric, the tension palpable, and of course, a new champion is about to be crowned. My colleague Osama joins me for more on this. Osama, first of all, what should we expect in this evening's banger? And the second question, where have you placed your money and where should I place mine?
Well, as far as placing your bets are, I would suggest place it on Team India because you never know. Is it going to be just red or is it going to be redder? Because both the teams have been at the top of their form getting into this final. The Punjab Kings, they might have had a hiccup in the first qualifier. But the way they came back, the way Shreyas Iyer managed to get them into the final, it basically tells you the kind of mentality that this team has. And it is quite different from the previous Punjab teams that we have seen. So on paper, at this point, Bengaluru might look a better team, but you cannot let Punjab Kings, you cannot give them the benefit of doubt because Punjab Kings have managed to turn it around for themselves as well in this particular season. Speaking about the match, and like you rightly mentioned, Arjun, this is, it's an exciting final. It's a final where both the teams, they have not won the title before, and this is the first time that either of the team is going to. Yeah, and either of the team is going to be the first-time champion. So that is something that the fans would be looking forward to, and especially all the Virat Kohli fans who have been waiting for 18 years. This is the 18th season. Virat Kohli wears the 18 number jersey. We never know, it might just be his year as well.
Well, thank you so much for getting us the latest. And a cracker of a match we all are looking forward to this evening. Now, moving on, Pakistan will play their matches, in fact, at this year's Women's Cricket World Cup in Sri Lanka under an International Cricket Council deal that allows them to avoid playing in host nation India. Now, the refusal of India to travel to Pakistan for the Men's Champions Trophy earlier this year resulted in the ICC introducing neutral venues viewers to host tournaments by either of the neighbouring countries. Serbian tennis legend Novak Djokovic cruised past Britain's Cameron Norrie to secure his 100th single victory at the French Open. The 38-year-old triumphed 6-2, 6-3, 6-2, reaching the quarterfinals at the Roland Garros for the 16th consecutive year. In the world of entertainment, viewers Cheryl Reed, Ralph, Mark Duplass, Noah Weil and numerous others walked the red carpet Monday for the second annual Gotham Television Awards. Presented by the Gotham Film and Media Institute, the gala recognizes outstanding television series and performances, along with celebrating industry icons across 12 award categories. Now, before the ceremony, Stephen Graham spoke on reasons why the Netflix hit series Adolescence was created.
This was a story that I think I've felt most passionately about anything that I've ever been a part of and written before, and I felt like, you know, even before Jonathan Haidt showed up and started talking about what is happening to our kids with this technology, this felt important and there's a need to tell this. So I think the major difference is when everybody in town passed on it and said, we love it, the writing's beautiful, nobody's making TV like this, we want to see Game of Thrones. We just risked everything and we paid for this ourselves. It's way more expensive than anything we've ever made, and it was so scary, but we just felt compelled.
And a massive eruption at Mount Etna forced tourists to flee the volcano on Monday after a plume of high-temperature gases, ash and rock several kilometers high billowed into the air above them. Footage shared on social media, as you see on your screen, showed people running for their lives down to the mountains of Europe's largest and most active volcano as a thick column of smoke intensified above. Meanwhile, the authorities have said there was no current danger to the population. Well, that's all we have for you on this Tuesday edition of the World Report. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care and have a wonderful day.